I like things that drop in naturally. They kind of fall into place. I think a lot of what we work with has been part of that organic process of seeing if things fit. If they don't, we move on, and if they do, they seem to fit there all the time. I'm John Seccombe. I'm the owner and winemaker of Thorne Daughters Wines. We're a small family-owned winery that's run by me and my wife. We started with 12 barrels in 2013, and the rest is history. I actually started out studying medicine, and when I got into Tygerberg, I decided that's not what I wanted to do. Changed tack and did a BCom with mathematics and computer science, and then eventually decided I needed to get out of Stellenbosch and graduate. I was very lucky to have met my wife, and she was finishing up her fine art degree, and we decided we wanted to go to the UK. I worked for a software company for about 6 months before I realized I couldn't cut it in an office space, and I went back to working with wine and restaurants. I did my first harvest in 2002. I think from the first couple of days working in the winery, I knew that's where I wanted to be. I spent a lot of years then when we were in the UK working harvests overseas. I actually studied winemaking while we were there, so I'm one of the only UK-trained South African winemakers now working in South Africa. Our earlier years back in South Africa were a little bit tough. When my wife fell pregnant, I was looking for jobs. I hadn't trained at Elsenburg and I hadn't trained at Stellenbosch, and I didn't know anybody. But by hook or by crook, we got ourselves established in the Overberg of all places, which is very, very close to our hearts. I started the first production in a friend's cellar without any vineyard contracts. We made 2 wines, our Tin Soldier and Rocking Horse. Those are our foundational wines. Having spent a large part of my early career overseas and outside of South Africa, I really came home and wanted to focus on what we could do well. One of my desert island wines would be white Burgundy, and I wanted to bring that sort of cultural richness to our wines. What I wanted to make was new classics, wines that can only be from South Africa. We have this incredible treasure trove of Chenin, Semillon, Claret Blanche. Especially that old vine, old genetic material, Semillon, has really become a bit of a bedrock in our wines. I really wanted to tap into that, but then also not be dogmatic about it. So we brought in Chardonnay, we brought in Roussanne. These are relatively modern plantings for South Africa. So I think we always seek that out, that relationship between our heritage, and a vision for what our future can be, both viticulturally and in the winemaking. I was nominated to the Guild by Duncan Savage. Niels Verberg very kindly seconded the nomination. I'm very humbled. We don't come from a winemaking background, so having started my career as a little bit of an outsider, in South Africa, it's an incredible group of peers. When you join the Guild, there's a bit of pressure, you've really got to bring your A game and produce some special wines. I'm trying to respect my own process. I think there's some very exciting wines in 24, and I think I've really earmarked a couple of potential Guild barrels there. Part of my winemaking soul wants to be tied to a parcel of land and wants that singular expression. But I think my journey has brought me to a lot more vineyard parcels, a very eclectic selection that I found all over South Africa. A lot of noise is made about how winemakers shouldn't have any influence on the wines and all that sort of thing. But as much as you can strip down the winemaking, you always frame it through your picking decisions, through the things that you don't do. I think you're always going to have that footprint or fingerprint on the wine, and I think that's important as well.